Hi, everyone, and sorry to all of you in the line, but we have a huge amount of stuff to get through today. So I was asked to start right at noon. So welcome to the Rotary Club of Beaumont, the 72nd club founded in the world where our members serve to change lives. Those on Zoom, we ask you please to mute your microphone, and all of the rest of us, please feel free to check in on Facebook. So today we have Jason Moore, captain with the Salvation Army, leading us in the invocation. Catherine Fuller, financial advisor with Edward Jones, will do the pledges, and Stephanie Roberts, owner, David's AC and Heating, will introduce our guests. Jason?
Please pray with me. Father in heaven, we thank you for this blessed day. We're so grateful to be with friends in the room. And we ask that you continue to guide our lives, guide our meeting today. We ask, Lord, that you be with us, Lord, as we do the good work of Rotary in the community. In your name we pray, amen.
Please join me as we say pledges to our nation and to our great state of Texas. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
I don't have a list. We need a list of our guests, please. Cheryl's too busy campaigning out there.
Thank you, Cheryl. Appreciate it. If you would please stand when I announce your name with your host. We have Carl Lambeth, that he brought Jessica Lambeth and Lucy Lambeth. And then we have Alan Higgins. He brought in Mark Adams, which I haven't seen Alan. Oh, there he is. Okay, that's it.
That was great. 12:04. Am I on time? Tim Sudella, past president and acting sergeant at arms today, will lead us in our election.
Thank you, Uliana. You know, we have a very vibrant Rotary Club because we have active members and a strong leadership team. Today at our annual meeting, we will elect 4 members to the board of directors and 1 member to serve as trustee of the Beaumont Rotary Foundation. They each will serve 3-year terms, attend board meetings, and serve as advocates for our organization. Our club bylaws are very clear about how this process works. A nominating committee has prepared a ballot of 8 Rotarians to be considered for the board of directors and 3 members to be considered for the foundation. I am grateful to the women and men who have agreed to have their names on the ballots today. The bylaws also allow nominations from the floor. Vice President Uliana, I ask you to request those at this time.
The bylaws also say at the annual meeting, that members may nominate from the floor any additional nominees who meet the qualifications just read to you. However, the bylaws also say there is to be no seconding speeches or discussion today. You may now nominate by name any other qualified candidate. Are there any nominations from the floor? Seeing none, please continue with the election.
Thank you, Uliana. Rotarians, personally, I take any combination of these candidates to serve on my team. The only way you can mess this up is to vote for more than 4 candidates for the board and more than 1 candidate for the foundation. Those attending on Zoom today may cast your ballot in the poll that you see on your screen. If you wish to submit a write-in candidate, you need to print the name for which board you're voting for into the chat box and make sure your message is directed to Jackie Chapman only. As a reminder, only Rotarians of the club are eligible to vote. By the way, our bylaws state that to be considered to serve as club president, a Rotarian must first have been elected by the membership to serve on the board of directors. So who knows, we may be electing a future club president today. We're going to ask the members of the ballot committee to hand out official ballots, but again, only to Rotarians that are members of our club and not guests. We're going to give you a minute or two to complete those. And after you complete them, please raise your hand and we will collect the ballots and then go count them. Thank you for your time and attention. Thank you.
Okay, we are going to move on with the program now. So we have introduction of new members by Joanne Brown, President-elect.
Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians. We are blessed today with two very strong new members. I look forward to everyone meeting them, and I'll tell you a little bit about each one. What happened? Am I on? Good. First, in alphabetical order, we have Carl Lambeth. Carl is the manager. Sorry? It went off. It may be a battery issue. Carl is the managing director of Safe Move Southeast Texas. Carl is here today with his wife, Jessica Lambeth, and their daughter, Lucy, who is precious. They also have two children, Austin and Autumn, that are in the Hampshire Finette School District. Carl is a past recipient of Beaumont Foundation of America Scholarship, and his goal is to grow his Safe Move franchise to multiple locations. Please join me in welcoming Carl. Joining us also today is Julie Strasburger. Julie is the marketing and sales person for Bug Me Not Pest Control. Julie is still married to her husband for 27 years. And she is the mom to 1 human and 9 fur babies. She's painted really large, colorful paintings of cats, dogs, birds, and crabs. Oh my, please join me in welcoming Julie Strasburger.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Joanne. This isn't working. Next, we're going to have John Lee, Business Advisor, Lamar University Small Business Development Center, and he is presenting our Rotary University members.
Don't need no stinking microphone. Okay. We have 1 blue badge and 1 doctorate to recognize today. First, Miss Amy Wilson. Amy, if you'll come up with Juliana. Obviously, Amy has met all the requirements for her blue badge. She has also met the perfect attendance requirement, even while being a teacher. She helped in planning the 2021 Swan Song, has actively participated in several Rotary After Hours Fellowship activities, made a donation to the Rotary Foundation, and attended the Rotary Zone Institute Luncheon with Jennifer Jones in Houston. So thank you, Amy. And we don't often get these, but we have a person that has achieved their doctorate, Mr. Wes Shipley. If you'll come up. It's hard to believe that Wes just joined in 2017. He's been exemplary since then. He served on the Salvation Army Bell Ringing Committee, the RILA Committee, planted trees at the community garden, worked on the Nest Project at both Peach MacArthur and Blanchette Elementaries, helped with our literacy project at Martin, He was appointed to serve on the board of directors as Sergeant at Arms, and to help earn the doctorate, Wes has also achieved 3 years of perfect attendance. Congratulations, Dr. Shipley.
Thank you, John. I guess this is just going to work on its own. We're moving on to committee announcements, and we have a lineup for you today, starting with Jacques Gagne, Chair of the Salvation Army Red Kettle Drive. He'll be followed by Lynn Castle and Deborah Drago, and then Kevin Reed and me.
I'll keep it brief. Basically this Saturday, big weekend, from 10 to 5, we'll be ringing the bell for Salvation Army. All the spots are filled, so I'm not going to take a bunch of time going over everybody's names, but it'll be a good time. I'll get there a little bit early, about 1:45, and I'll stay there throughout the event, and especially want to thank everybody that signed up. Thank you very much.
There once was a Rotarian who was quite a procrastinarian. So I am here to remind you to make your reservation for the holiday party. It's next Thursday on the 16th, and the deadline for reservations is tomorrow, mañana. Party starts at 6 o'clock. Tickets are $45 per person. So do it now, you procrastinarians.
So I'm here to remind you, it is the time of giving. So we are collecting gifts for the Women and Children Shelter. So we will be collecting gifts for moms, also for young children, as well as those preteen boys. So we would love for you to bring a gift or gifts to the Christmas party, the holiday party. Pardon me. Please bring the gifts unwrapped, because they provide a store for their residents, and they're able to come and shop for their children. The children are able to shop for their moms. And so please remember them whenever you're out doing your holiday shopping. Thank you.
Thank you. It wasn't BYOB today, although I did bring my bottle. Kevin's got his. If you haven't brought your bottle, you need to bring your bottle. We need wine for Wine Down with Rotary. Go on.
Mine looks prettier than yours.
Mine's better though.
Mine's warmer.
Mine's nicer.
She might have me there. Okay, so like she said, we appreciate all the people that brought their bottles today. Looks like we have a very good selection. And I'm also supposed to remind you that the tickets are $40. I know Dee has some tickets. I have some tickets. So if you'd like to pick one up today, get a hold of us. There'll be $50 at the door. And then you want to get the tickets. Those that have tickets that need stickers, see Cheryl. She has the stickers for the new date back there in the back. And a reminder that it's January 27th at the event center. And that's it. That's all. That's all I got to say.
Perfect.
Oh, drinks to you.
Cheers. Thank you, everybody. We will have Deborah Drago, Customer Service Specialist with Entergy Texas, will now introduce our guest speaker.
Okay, so it is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Robin Pearson. She is the Executive Director of the, and I'm have to always just call it the Shorkey Center, but it's the Richard L. Shorkey Education and Rehabilitation Center. And if you're not familiar with it, it's here in Beaumont, located near Baptist Hospital. Robin and her husband, Kevin, moved to Southeast Texas in 2020. He is the CEO of the YMCA of Southeast Texas, and the word got around really quickly that there was a qualified, educated, passionate woman who would be the perfect fit for the Shorkey Center. The Pearsons are new to Southeast Texas, but they are not new to Texas. Robin received her master's degree from the University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley. She also worked in several school districts around Texas as a special education teacher, and then worked at a gymnastic, I'm not going to call it gymnastics, but they provided preschool and provided a lot of different opportunities there in Austin. She has also worked in California in a pediatric therapy clinic. She did receive her doctorate in educational leadership at Creighton University and is a 2020 fellow of the California Leadership Education in Neurodevelopment and Related Disabilities Interdisciplinary Training Program. So she brings her leadership and management skills to Beaumont. And I know we are excited to have her here today to learn more about the Shorkey Center and the services they provide and the current trends. But just on a side note, Kevin and Robin, of course, you can see they're passionate community activists since they're both nonprofit leaders. They do have 2 children. Scarlett is a graduate of Texas Tech University, and their son Indigo is a junior at Trinity University. And so they are, again, a passionate family. They love spending time together. They love spending time outdoors, especially in the sunshine. And so please welcome Dr. Robin Pearson.
Oh, I aim at Jackie. All right, so can you see me? Is this working at all? I'm actually really loud, so I'm not too worried about it. So that's the picture of the Shorkey Center right there. As Deborah was telling you, we moved here in the heart of the pandemic. We got here in the middle of March. My husband's first day at the YMCA was the day the YMCA closed for the pandemic. So people say, what do you think of Southeast Texas? I really like my husband because that's really all I've seen. So I love the Shorkey Center. I love the kids and I love the families that we serve. So I decided today to tell you a little bit about the Shorkey Center. A lot of people, it's been around a long time. But on top of that, what are the trends in the community, in education, as well as rehabilitation that impact this area as a community and in Southeast Texas? Because if we're going to make bigger changes on a greater level, we have to come together. So we're going to talk about vision, trends, challenges, and successes. So this is our basic mission vision statement. I have big dreams. I'm not a very good person at being that kind of pigeonholed person. My people at my new employment place think that I'm a little bit crazy. I do cartwheels in the hallway and handstands. And if you're on our Facebook, you'll see that I do handstands on a lot of our different pictures because I think bringing in excitement and enthusiasm to everything we do just brings up that spirit. And that's part of what we really need to do for our kids and our families. So we've been there since 1944. We've had a number of name changes, as you can see, they're all that are listed. Dr. Richard L. Shorkey had worked with the Shorkey Center for a long time. And so that's kind of how his name has come into play here. And we will keep moving on. So we offer a number of different therapies as well as education services. So therapy for pediatric therapy in the state of Texas does not do a very good job about reimbursement rates. So we've had several clinics here in Southeast Texas close over the last couple years because of those reimbursement rates. But we offer a variety of services within that physical therapy. It's everything from children learning to roll over, bracing, being able to stand in walkers. They have acute after surgery that they come in for therapy and stretching. A lot of times those kids come 2 or 3 days a week, and sometimes it's a short period of time. Sometimes it's years and years that they continue to need therapy services. So we have a full-time physical therapist, and then we have a physical therapist that will be starting in January, 2 full-time physical therapy assistants, and a part-time physical therapy assistant. They'll be starting in January as well. Occupational therapy, this is kind of the mystery one a lot of people don't know a lot about. Occupational therapy deals with any sensory system that comes into your body. So who has spun around before and you get really dizzy? That's called your vestibular. And so our therapists help kids understand how all the information comes into their brain. It comes in through your ears, the lights, the sounds. We hear the air conditioner, people talking really loud. They help with those sensory systems. So think about when you're in a crowded room and everybody's talking and you can focus on one person and have a conversation. But our children with sensory needs don't filter that out. So they're listening to all the conversations because they have a hard time attending and filtering information. So that's a lot of what occupational therapy does, helps with that self-regulation and management. You hear about kids having trouble with transitions from one activity to another. They help those kids regulate their sensory systems. It also has a lot to do with fine motor skills. In schools, we see a lot of kids working on maybe writing, fine motor buttoning, dressing, anything that has to do with your daily living skills. Slide. There it goes. So uniquely, we have a pool at our facility. We just recently got a grant to add in what they call a tot dock. So it will sink into the bottom of our pool. So kids at all heights can be able to stand in the pool. Otherwise, it's 5 foot on one end and our little kids can't stand. But unique to what we do is our occupational therapists also work in the pool. Water therapy is very good for children on the autism spectrum. You hear about weighted blankets and how the kids respond well to that. Water is the same sort of sensitivity for those kids. They give them that pressure and it helps them regulate their systems. But of course, it provides buoyancy so the kids can balance. It also is warm and it's a whole lot more fun than just sometimes that basic clinical, let's see you walk across the floor. Well, now we're in the pool. We get to kick and splash our teacher and make funny noises in the water and blow bubbles. And it just brings about a lot of excitement. It takes that clinical piece out and makes it a lot of fun. Speech therapy, some of the things that we'll see some of our pictures there, but it goes beyond just words and talking communication and being able to understand children when they speak. We have a little boy right now that's working on an eye gaze. And so they're not sure what his disability is, but his mom wants nothing more than this world to be able to talk to him. And so they're working on an eye gaze system. So he looks at different pictures to tell his mom what he wants. We have kids that are nonverbal. And so they have picture-based or on an iPad and they can tell their parents how they feel, what they want. The first time that your child actually communicates and says, I love you at the age of 7 will melt anybody's heart because they finally have that device that makes that difference. So applied behavior analysis, this is getting to be really exciting. It's been a long, hard road for the Shorkey Center. They've been looking for a full-time BCBA, which is a behavior analyst that oversees this program. And the new one started today. High five to somebody starting today. It was exciting. But behavior analysis for children with autism, and it's a one-to-one therapy session where kids work on very specific tasks. It's being able to follow simple directions. It's being able to navigate your environment and not be overstressed by it. They could be stressed by lights or sounds. See kids, or they make really loud noises. I had a child, this was his go-to when he wanted to not listen to you, he would ee, because then you can't talk to him, you can't get near him, and he's pushed you all away. So we try to help them regulate that so that they can have that communication. It may not be verbally, but communication with the people around them, the things that they want and need. And then that helps to reduce those anxieties and limits some of those behaviors. And so they say with autism, it's like the meeting of two cultures. And so you think about people, when you go out and you've traveled around, if you're in a Hispanic culture, they like to hug and kiss and they're very affectionate. But if you're in some of the more Asian cultures, they may bow and have much more distance. How do you bring those two people together? That's how autism is. They interact with the world differently than what we typically, that funny little word, typically interact, and how can we make those two groups come together and understand one another? Our outreach program, we'll talk a little bit more about this and some of the difficulties and challenges that we have, but there are a lot of kids who do not receive therapy for a variety of reasons. A lot of it is based around insurance. So our outreach is a program that goes and brings those kids in that aren't getting any other kind of service. We're using a program called Pathways. It's actually a parent-based training program. It's for behavior-related difficulties in families. They may be on the spectrum. They may be at risk of being diagnosed with autism. autism, or they may just have significant behavior challenges. And so they come in and it's an hour-and-a-half program, and the parent and the child work together with a therapist to learn how to make that communication through basic back and forth communication of eye contact in response to how they behave and what is that child interested in to try to make that connection. It's an amazing program. Well, our speech therapist has a wonderful story about a little girl that she was only making it about 10 minutes through speech therapy, and she was supposed to be there for 45 minutes because she couldn't attend to what was going on. She couldn't stay on task. And after going through the program, 45 minutes, within 6 weeks, she was able to participate in speech therapy for 45 minutes. It's a big jump. Our Kids in Day program is a non-public day school. Children are sent to us by school districts. They have behaviors that are outside the capabilities of what the school can provide resources for those students. So they come to our facility. We provide educational services as well as a teacher. And then they have a one-to-one ABA therapist. So if a child can't regulate their behavior, they're angry, they throw chairs, they stab with scissors, they need a little bit more help than what the traditional school can provide. So they come to our center, and we have one therapist with one child that helps them work through those difficulties and those challenges, and helps them, again, I keep using that word, regulate that behavior so that they can attend to that schoolwork and learn. So we have a preschool. The preschool serves ages 3 years to 5 years old, but then we also have an after school program. What's interesting about our program, we had kind of closed down for COVID, and we just opened up our preschool. We've taken in 6 new kids in the last about 6 weeks. Out of those 6 kids, 5 of them have been kicked out of multiple preschools because of behavior. If you're a parent and you've ever been told anything about your child that you didn't necessarily like what they said about your kid, imagine being kicked out multiple times because of their behavior. We had 2 families that came in. The child was at the preschool for less than 3 hours, and they asked to have the child picked up. So in a traditional preschool for a 4-year-old, you can have 15 kids and 1 teacher. So you can imagine a child that has autism that won't sit down in circle time, doesn't follow basic instructions, how that could be very disruptive in a class. So we run about a 6-to-2 ratio because those children have about one-on-one assistance. And so that is not a very cost-effective way to run program. Daycare does not pay very well as far as the parents coming in, but that is what the kids need. So our philosophy is what's best for kids. So we have to look at each child as an individual and what is best for that child and is going to meet their needs. The other interesting piece to this is most of those, not most, but a large number of those kids need therapy. So if you have a child that needs physical therapy, occupational therapy, and speech therapy, that means mom takes off of work for every therapy that they take them to. Some of them see multiple therapies during the week. So we have kids that see are in therapy 6 times during that week, twice for PT, twice for OT, twice for speech. How does the parent manage that? That means they're not able to work. And so most of these families that they cannot find services for their kids, their families do not work in order to be able to give what their child needs as far as therapy goes. But then it's costly. So if you're not working, how do you afford that therapy? That it just becomes this big ball of disorganization and juggling of trying to figure out how to possibly get those kids' needs met. We also have an after school program. So kids come on the bus. Again, most of those kids need therapy. Otherwise, mom's taking off of work after school to take them to multiple therapies, but they come to us on the bus, and then our therapists walk into that program and pick that child up, and they may take them to aquatic therapy after school. They may go into the gym to play. So right there, we have all of that readily available for those families. So the challenges, I think this is the big thing that as a community, everyone kind of needs to come together and understand where we stand currently and what is needed, particularly in the state of Texas. Coming from California, their social services for children with special needs is way far advanced of what we offer. But I'll give you this, Texas educational system, you may not agree with this, is way far advanced than what I experienced in California. So, it just kind of depends on the side of the fence that you're sitting on and what you need. But with the therapies, it's very costly. And so the kids that we service, and we cannot do this. So I don't think I mentioned at the beginning, we are a United Way partnered agency. They provide a lot of funding for us to be able to support families. We write off more than $100,000 a year in unpaid or uncollected fees, whether that be through copays that parents couldn't pay. It could be insurance things that they won't reimburse. A kid may need a particular kind of therapy or something, a particular type of therapy done, and the insurance company doesn't pay for it. But we know that that's what that child needs. So the copays are very costly. So if your child comes to therapy 6 times a week at $25 a pop, we're now talking $150 times 4 weeks. Where is that going? What parent can afford that? And remember, you can't work because you're taking your kid to 6 therapies a week. So again, we look at that. We also have a lot of kids in ABA therapy, which is that applied behavior analysis. The struggles that we have insurance, private insurance writes exclusions to those clauses, and they will not provide coverage for those services. So when I first got here, my big beef and stomping around and screaming and hollering was over the fact that Medicaid in the state of Texas is probably one of the last, I think, 5 states that does not pay for ABA services. It will be kicking in February. So we're really excited. 1, those kids finally are getting services. 2, we have a BCBA starting. So that makes it even more exciting. But then we found out that people in the area, other agencies that provide ABA services are not going to take Medicaid. One of the codes that they pay for pays $1.86. What can you do for $1.86 for a child? I'm not sure. So we look at that, and those other agencies cannot afford to take those kids. But as we say, it is what's best for kids. We are going to find a way to make this happen and serve those families. We have, I don't know, stacks and stacks of kids that are on wait lists because it's not been a provided service. And February is going to open that floodgate of being able to provide services. And that early intervention changes the trajectory of that child's life forever and the family. The reimbursement rates on top of that are about 35%. So we may bill for about $250, $280 for a service for physical therapy. We collect about $83 on that. So our other challenges is talent recruitment. So since I've been here, we've gone through, when we were trying to recruit a BCBA, it was going to be $18,000 to go through a recruiter to recruit one. We used a recruiter to get an occupational therapist because they had been looking for 2 years at the Shorkey Center when I got here for an occupational therapist. But this is not unique just to our particular system. I was in on a Zoom call yesterday with Christus Health, and it is bringing in physicians is a very important thing to our area. And how do we recruit them? How do we make our city attractable that make people want to come here? It's a big piece of what we do and why we do it. Our kids that have Medicaid all go to Houston. So if you have to go to Houston for 3 different services, you went 3 different times that week. As I was saying kind of about the social services in California, they run high-risk clinics. So you go down once and you get to see all your physicians. It's not set up like that here. So I'll have a family that may go 4 times during the week to see a different physician or a different specialist. It's very hard. You've got a child with special needs that you're in the car for 4 hours with to see, you know, an appointment for 30 minutes. So we lack the pediatric specialists here to meet those kids' needs. And then the Medicaid's not paying for a lot of it, and that's how they end up in Houston. We also lack the ability for diagnosis for autism in the area. It's an 18-month wait in Houston for our kids to go. Physicians and clinics. So we are going to start a feeding clinic. We got another grant for that. And what's unique to what we will do different than some of the other facilities is that we will offer it through physical therapy or speech therapy and occupational therapy. Occupational therapy has to do with how hard do you bite down, or hard do you bite down to be able to pull a piece of a sandwich apart. So that's kind of the occupational therapy. Speech therapy is kids that kind of aspirate things and have a hard time swallowing. And then we're adding a piece to it because we have a behavior specialist. Sometimes it's like, I don't like the look of that. I don't like the way it smells. So a behavior therapist steps in to also help mediate that process of kids learning to eat. This is really important for kids that are on feeding tubes. You see that a lot with children that are premature. How do they move from a feeding tube to actually eating by mouth? But as I started to say a few minutes ago, so diagnosis is probably the most difficult thing. We have very few physicians, pediatricians, psychologists, specialists in Beaumont that do the diagnosis. Right now, families are coming in and saying the school districts aren't testing till the age of 6. The age of 6 could make the difference on whether you notice that a child has autism as a school-age child, or you don't recognize that those symptoms are appearing anymore. 6 is way too late. And going to Houston for an 18-month wait is also too long. So again, with the schools not testing, it's partly because they've been flooded, and there's also this long, strange delay because of COVID. People weren't testing. So we have educational services. So that was our preschool, after school, as well as our non-public day school. So we currently we do not have kids enrolled in our non-public day school because TEA has changed the rules. And if I were to hire a new teacher out of Lamar University, they would need 7 certifications to teach at my school. So if anybody knows any young teachers, actually, I think I need somebody that's old, so they only have to have 4 certifications. So we are desperately looking for a teacher right now. And it is very difficult. I feel like the schools are kind of crazy that somebody should come because we have wonderful children, wonderful staff, and they should come work for us. The other big thing is we hear a lot about the children, the preschool age kids being kicked out of schools, out of preschool because they cannot provide the services that the kids need. And then how do we educate staff and other agencies to be able to handle those children? Transition is a big piece of it. Transition, whether you're talking about going from pediatric services of PTOT speech into adult services, but it's also how do you move from therapy into community-based activities. So all we do is sit down and talk about all these problems. Look at all these challenges. What are we going to do? How are we going to figure it out? And so that's kind of where we've been since I've been here, trying to say, what is the problem? What is the challenge? And what are we going to do about it? So the first one is we look at those funding things, grants. We are always on top of grants. United Way is a huge piece, and how do we use that money to the best of our ability to meet the most number of kids and families? We're going to have a fundraiser. I'll show you a picture of that in a minute. And then also just basic community support, partly getting that word out there. How do we, again, make our environment attractable to other people? It's been difficult when I send information out about trying to get professionals to come. And they go, yeah, but you were closed for a hurricane 3 times, and then you were closed for bad weather. And yeah, but it's a great place anyway. But the online educational services, we're hoping through TEA that they're going to provide that we can provide services for kids in our TEA program. Last year we lost our kids and they had to drive to the other side of Houston every morning. They had to drive 2.5 hours to get to school to get the services that we were offering here. We're going to start up a screening clinic. So any family that feels like they have a child that has some sort of need or they're worried about them, they can come in and we can provide a screening for them, take that back to their pediatrician, and hopefully get the assessment that they need and take down some of that time, that long wait to get into the pediatrician and get their child looked at. We're also looking at the options for an assessment clinic so we can actually do the diagnosis ourselves. What is that going to take? And so that's just a process, but we're trying to actually have an assessment clinic so we can diagnose autism. Community and parent training. So if we can get community leaders and we can get community programming trained about children with special needs, then we're all going to be better off because we're going to be able to serve them and they're going to integrate into our classrooms, into preschools, into after school programs and camps. It's on our list. But one of the ways to really bring in money is to look at programming, because programming is kind of separate from everything else I do, where parents pay money to come in to do certain activities. Some of that could be grant funded so the parents aren't having to pay, but part of it does really help with that kind of underlying foundation of funding for things. It funds other parts, covers part of the therapy. So that's everything from swimming, adaptive swimming, social groups, summer camps, but we really need a programming space. So that's what we're trying to kind of create where we currently are. And then the next thing was we're looking to hire what we call a certified recreation therapist. And so we see those people today in a lot of senior living centers. Those are the activity directors. So that's what we're looking for our facility so that we can have our kids go out into the community and we can move from therapeutic activities in a facility and a clinic into community-based activities. And you'll see them out working in, whether it be into a baseball scenario, because the child has autism, has a hard time with those social skills, but how can we get them participate alongside their fellow peers? So our successes, it's been a busy year, even though it's been COVID. We have made a sidewalk around the outside of one of our playgrounds. When I first got there, they were taking the kids out in the parking lot on tricycles and walkers and standers and different things. And so we have this really beautiful playground that goes, or sidewalk that goes around the outside. We have a bus driveway that the kids couldn't cut. The bus went through, they couldn't lower the lift because it had big holes in it. So we've tried to actually change part of our infrastructure and the function of how it works. Our Instruction Junction program we had just a handful of kids that have special needs. And so now we run at least a third of the kids have special needs. So what's unique to our program with ABA and our preschool is in ABA services and other clinics, there's one child and one therapist all day long in one room, no social interaction. But our ABA kids move into our preschool and they get to do circle time and go outside and play and they have lunch. So they're with typically developing kids and kids with special needs. So in our preschool, we have children with autism. We have a couple kids that have chromosome abnormalities, cerebral palsy. So they've got a variety of disabilities that come, but that just enriches the environment of what the kids experience and how they get to interact with one another. Let's see, we're working on getting an adaptive aquatics program. We have a lot of phone calls for that. The kids don't need therapy per se, but they would like to be in a pool. So we're working on some one-on-one systems for that as well. And then the big thing is the transition services. How do we get them into the community? And so this past year, we had a dance program that if you get on our Facebook, you can see their performance. They're also going to go to a competition in Dallas. And then we also went kayaking with a bunch of kids. And so we've got some pictures. I'll show that in a second. We've added a sensory room. So there's a little trampoline in there. They have a rock climbing wall. They have monkey bars in there so that they can work on their upper body and lower body strength. It was critical this summer because, as you know, it rained every day this summer. What do you do to children all day long when you can't go outside? So we had this sensory gym that they could go in. We also, our physical therapy and occupational therapy patients go into this room as well to work. And this is a picture of the sidewalk, and one of the United Way agencies came out and painted the Born Learning Project. And so there are signs that have the kids do different things. So where the little caterpillar is, the kids work on who's in front, who's in back, who's first, who's second, who's behind you. And so we can work on some of those positional things, as well as hopscotch. And the little boy that's sitting in the circle is actually a picture frame, and the kids use their sidewalk chalk to draw pictures in it. Super cute. This was our Miracles in Motion dance program. And this is one of their practice pictures here. And we've expanded. We had 10 kids last year. This year we have 20 kids. And they come each week and perform and practice. And then at the end of the year, they perform on stage with a local dance program. And it's just amazing. It will make you cry. I actually had tried to get the video to embed in it, but it wouldn't. But it really is a tearjerker, but it's super cute. The parents come out and help the kids. But what it has done for the parents to go out and see their kids participating alongside everybody else is just really heartwarming. It's gonna play part of it. Kind of an odd cadence there. I promise they're moving a little faster than that. So this was us going kayaking. So we actually put a kayak in the water in our pool. We practiced with the kids, dumping them over, getting them back on, feeling what it felt like to have a life vest on. And we took them out. We took just a few kids with us. We plan to do this more in the future for sure. The little boy that's here in the front actually, well, I don't know which picture he's in. He was paralyzed on one side, so our therapist made a little grip for him so he could hold that paddle. And they talk about how, you know, in therapy, sometimes he gets tired, he's not working very hard. But when he was out that day, he kept yelling at me because I was the spotter in the other kayak, and he kept yelling, faster, 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 get her, get her, get her. And you know, move, paddle, paddle. And he actually, at one time, the person that was they were in tandem kayaks, sat back and look, you're actually doing it all by yourself. You're moving this boat. I'm not doing anything. There's a little bit of flow of a current, but that's okay. He doesn't know that. But what's more impressive about this, what you don't, oh, it's going to choke me up. What you don't see is my staff are amazing. Oh my gosh, because I'm crying. We had parents of our therapists out there, my husband. This is true. I can play pulling with this. But all of our therapists and their spouses came out. That's one of our therapist boyfriends sitting behind the young man in the front because it's a family. On a happier note, so we are going to offer what we call a beach ball bash. And so watch on our website for it. So who's ever seen senior citizens play volleyball over a net with beach ball at an activity center? So that's what we're offering. That way our kids with special needs that are in wheelchairs can play also. And so it's played with a volleyball and over a net. In the morning, it's going to be more of a family fun. They're going to have carnival games. And then in the afternoon, it gets to be a little bit more competitive. And you'll see there's people out there get really crazy about the whole volleyball thing. So this is our big fundraiser this year. But it's something that everybody can play, and all of our kids can play it, whether they're in wheelchairs, have physical disabilities. And this is the picture of our field because I want to build a new building and I want a new therapy building. And so Deborah was trying to say, so I ran Capital Gymnastics in Austin, Texas. If anybody of you know what that is or been in the gymnastics world, they had 5 locations when I was there. It was really big. And so we also provided services for kids with special needs. And so I want that to look like a gym, some place to play, trampolines. And so that's my vision is our big dream is to build. And that's a picture of our end. Does anybody have any questions? Yes.
I want to make sure I understand. Do you only serve folks with autism?
No.
What percentage of children in Beaumont area in your service area are on the autism spectrum? That's one question. The second question is, to have a relationship with Autism Speaks, we can work on the advocacy portion of what may need to be needed to Texas forward. In terms of reimbursement, and have you ever applied for a grant from Autism Speaks with the help of some of the things?
So the first question, I do not know the rate of what it is right here. Part of the problem with the rate of what the number of kids with autism is the poor rate of diagnosis here is bad. There's no other way to put it. It's just bad. It's kind of devastating. And that the schools aren't testing till a child's 6 years old is ridiculous. But the other part of that, Autism Speaks, actually was the very first thing I was ever trained in was Autism Speaks, probably 15 years ago. It's a long time. But we haven't applied for any kind of grant with them, but I do know that there's a lot of state legislature. It was actually passed to be paid for by Medicaid probably 2.5 years ago, just the money was never put in the pot. And then COVID hit and they're like, oh, I don't really have to deal with it. And so now the money's back in the pot.
If I can be helpful, Angela Geiger heads up the National Autism.
Yes, I will get your name and number when we're done. Thank you. Anybody else? Yes.
You covered so many different things today that those of us who don't listen that quickly, are most of these programs described on the website?
Yes. We're trying to get videos for each department. That's one of those things we've been working on since I've gotten there so that you can go to physical therapy and it plays a video and it tells you what they do. And then you go to occupational therapy and it plays a video and tells you what they do. And so we're trying to get that because it's very hard to describe. So I think the videos help a lot. So yes, they are on our website, shorkey.org.
One other question. Do you do IEP send with BISD when you bring children over? And how does that work?
So we are in the schools providing PT and OT right now in BISD and in East Chambers. But as far as if they're in the TEA program, then yes, we do. But school therapy and school and pediatric therapy in clinic are very different. What they offer, what they service.
Bill, did you have a question?
Well, we don't have any transportation. So if they go on their own, then yes.
So then
Oh, we have an online question.
A child to take to the center.
After school comes on a bus. Yep.
It says there, do you serve 14-year-old students?
In therapy,
Not
yes.
sure I heard that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we are a pediatric facility. We serve up to the age of 21. When we had the TEA program last year, it was all adolescents. They were 13 and 14-year-old kids. And primarily we only go up through middle school, partly because getting into high school, that highly qualified teacher is very difficult because they have to be qualified in every individual subject. Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Robin, thank you so much for your presentation. That was an amazing presentation. It's always great to hear about the wonderful organizations here in our area that are doing such amazing things for people. And, you know, when we have speakers, we like to make a contribution to Rotary Foundation International on their behalf. And today we're going to make a contribution to the maternal and child health area at Rotary International on your behalf. So thank you. Looking ahead, everyone is invited to be at Martin Elementary tomorrow morning at 8:30 a.m. for the ribbon cutting and grand opening of the nest that our club built there. It's going to be a great occasion with the Lamar president, Principal Long, and our past president, Cindy Cherry, cutting the ribbon to open this amazing center for the children. Please come join us if you can. If you volunteered to help with the Salvation Army Red Kettle project, please remember that that will take place this Saturday, December 11th. So get your nutcracker costume out, or call Rob Glassy and see if you can borrow his. Remember to make a reservation for the holiday party, which will be on Thursday, December 16th. The ticket deadline is tomorrow, so procrastinarians, you don't have a lot of time. You can purchase your tickets today before you leave, or you can do it online tomorrow, and you can wait to the very last minute. Remember that we're collecting gifts for the women and children of the Family Services Shelter at the holiday party. If you can't attend, but you'd like to donate a gift, please bring it by the Rotary office before the party and we'll deliver it for you. And because the holiday party serves as the meeting for the week, there will not be a meeting, I can't read, here at the hotel on Wednesday, December 15th. So let's move on. Tim Sudella has a special announcement on election returns.
Thank you, Uliana. I do want to thank the members of the election committee, Sherry Pierce, past president Cindy Cherry, and Judge Marsha Crone. They made the job very, very easy. And as a reminder, the members elected today will begin their 3-year term on July 1st, 2022, when Joanne Brown begins her term as club president. Thanks again to the Rotarians who agreed to have their names on the ballots today. So elected to the board of directors in no particular order will be Diane Bass, Ty Kudrain, Kevin Reed, and Josh Smith. And our trustee will be Chuck Hare. Let's give them a round of applause.
Congratulations to everybody, to all our newly elected board members. Welcome to Julie and Carl, the newest Rotarians in the world. Thank you to our guests for coming today and the Rotarians who brought them. Remember our theme of the year, everyone bring one, and those who recruit a new member get to join the prestigious President's Club and enjoy all the privileges. And as if this day has not been exciting enough, we have a special person who is going to lead us in the 4-way test, and that person
Yes, if you would stand with me and recite the things, the 4-way test of the things we think, say, and do. Number 1. Number 2. Number 3. And number 4. And thank you all for being here. Go out and do Rotary.